Good evening and welcome to the second of our previews of the Cheltenham Festival. It's PJ or William Kajani here hosting. I'd like to say first of all, thank you very much to Harold Doonan for today. He was a great host as ever, and the feverish amount of work he did paid off because we did really, really well. I'll admit we're not as big as some of the other names, and at the race had their final furlong preview evening, and they streamed it live on Facebook. The bastards taking away 4,000 potential viewers from us, but we still did pretty well. We got 221, and that wasn't too bad going up against the football and who listened, everybody who gives feedback, and everybody who's given their time. So yes, that's very heartening. Without further ado, I would like to reintroduce some familiar voices, and also to introduce somebody who is coming off a typically Willie Mullins style winter break. We'll give the first round to Ben Homans. It's been far too long, but he's peaking for the festival. How are you, Ben?
I'm very well, thank you, KJ. First one since, my first was Aintree last year, having 4 winners, so hopefully I can continue that for next week. So, yeah, fingers crossed.
He's doing it Quevega style. And you know what? We can't fault that. Now it's all previous voices from yesterday, but they were very well received. First of all, second podcast appearance on HSC for Stopwatch Racing. How are you, Clockman?
Not too bad. How's it all going, guys?
Excellent. Looking forward to hearing more of your wisdom. Betfred, Andrew Humphrey, and I should also add he has been on a Cheltenham panel too. He's racking up the years. How are you, Humph?
Very well, KJ. Very well. Looking forward to another day and one day closer to the madness.
Indeed. And Irish form scribe Graham Woods. How are you?
I'm doing well, KJ. How about yourself, though? More importantly,
you make it through every day, and that is a gift from God. Every day, some people might say the second day of the festival is amongst the best personally. It's a really, really interesting Neptune investment novices hurdle. I've got to start with Mr. Woods because he's been banging the job out Phineas Oscar. A couple of questions for him. The form has taken a couple of knots, so where do we lie with him in relation to the boundless optimism he had before and after the Tolworth?
Yeah, I mean, straight after Tolworth, I envisaged that he'd be 7-4, 2-1 for the Neptune, and that's not going to happen, obviously. As you say, his form has taken a lot of knocks. Yeah, it's not ideal, but what I seen at Hereford and I seen at Sandown was an extremely naturally talented horse that it's destined for the top. He's already a Grade 1 winner. I think this trip is ideal for him. When you compare his form with Neon Wolf, I know the form's not great, but I don't think Neon Wolf is much better, to be honest. He was getting weight off Elgin, and Elgin wouldn't have enjoyed that ground. I personally, and there was nothing else really in the field that day of any significance. I don't personally think that form was miles ahead of Finian's Oscars. I think the horse to beat in this race is Bacardi's, without a doubt. Brings solid Grade 1 form. Won the D-Light over 2-2. Should improve for going up to 2-5. The way he finished in the bumper last year. I think Ruby Walsh will probably ride him, even if Let's Dance is in the field, because he has Grade 1 form. If it comes up soft, you have to give Messire Days a Bow a big chance. His price could shorten a lot if Ballyandy wins the Supreme. He has a chance. Of the others at a big price, beyond conceit, you'd have to give a chance to if he turns up 16-1 here. I'm just looking with Paddy Powers. I think he could go well at a price. He might run the Supreme though. And the one I like at a big price each way, who I'm going to put up along with Finian's Oscars, William Henry. You can still get 25-1 about him. If it's good ground, I'd be very sweet on him from an each way perspective. I think he is a squeak of winning it, but I'm going to stick with Finian's Oscar. I think he's an absolute class act. Ground shouldn't be an issue, whatever way it turns, and he'd be the one for me. William Henry is sporting each way bet at 25s as well.
Thank you very much. As concise and lovely as ever. Just going to go to Stopwatch Racing. How do you see the main guys on the clock, and then give us your...
Not a fan of Finian's Oscar at all from a time perspective. He's had 3 opportunities to put up these time figures, and I've never clocked him doing anything better than 140, which is obviously respectable, but probably about a stone below what's necessary here. And in terms of the raw form as well, it's taken several knocks. I mean, Neon Wolves' claims are obvious. He was a clock watcher's wet dream last time when he put up a performance at Haydock that was slightly better than the new one. Now, obviously, the new one's not good enough to win a champion hurdle, but he's a fair 155 to 160 type yardstick, which kind of shows you the kind of level we're talking about with Neon Wolf. The issue with him, obviously, at the moment is there's no juice in his price at all. I mean, he's 5 to 2 at the moment. I personally can't see him going off much shorter than that on the day. The only other issue with him as well is he's actually, I think, a slightly questionable stayer. You obviously need to be speedy to win the Neptune. The closing sectionals, the closing 3 furlongs, are usually some of the quickest of the week. But it's still ultimately, Luke, it's a stiff enough 2.5 miles. And I would be slightly concerned that he's keen enough and free enough that he does some damage early on and is out battling up the hill. The horse I am most confident about, perhaps in the whole week, is Mizir de Zobo, who has repeatedly put up speed figures of about 150 using my methodology, most notably when beating Ballyandy, giving £7 away. He's a rock solid horse. He's not perhaps as classy as Neon Wolf, but he's not a million miles away from him. And we know he gets the trip well. He's uncomplicated. He finds plenty for pressure. If he turns up on the day, I would be very, very surprised if he was out the first 3. 2 others I'll give a brief mention to. If Let's Dance turns up with the mayor's allowance, she obviously has a huge chance. Last time she ran, it was the same day that both Melon and Petit Mouchoir ran over at Leopardstown. She was carrying a stone less than either of them in their races, but in terms of the time figure she put out, she kicked both of them out the park, and receiving £7 or £8 from these, she's got a clear chance on form and on the clock. And just to reiterate as well, I think William Henry's an interesting one. I think, as mentioned earlier, the only issue with him is he's slightly inexperienced. He's clearly got plenty of growing up to do. But his second behind Holstone was a very good clock performance as well. And I think he's probably not going to do any damage here. But if you're wanting a long-term prospect, he could be just about the best of any of these.
All right, thank you very much. Ben, it's been ages, but I'm sure you'll have plenty to say on the Neptune.
Yeah, there's plenty of notes been taken for the Neptune. First of all, just to mention a Cord, I know sat at the top, big price. When I went up Bridgewater's last year, is his best horse in the yard, he said. So I just think 123 rated. It'll be one for the future handicaps. So just to pop that in there. Just reflecting on Neon Wolf, its jumping just so slick. I just think with the form, yes, it's the Supreme Trial. It's, halved in price. It's now 5 to 2, 9 to 4 in places. Went to Taunton the other week. Saw he had follow up, albeit it being a bit of a funny run race. Creve Hill of Twist and Davis is well regarded. Who was in behind there, and then also Alkin. Then got placed by River Wild recently as well. So the form is there. Whether over the last week on the Gallops he's been doing something very special, because there's been money for the Supreme and the Neptune. So he would be my ideal winner of the Neptune. I think Finian's Oscar has to have a mention from its point-to-point form. So beating Mr. Clarkson, which I know the Toothless Wonder from Horses for Courses will be featuring later in the week. So we'll just put that in there. Whether he's listening or not, I don't know. But going back to when it's made its rules debut at Hereford, the form from the point to point, that Drops of Jupiter, was well regarded. Pulled up at 9-4. Again, I wasn't there in the point to point, but rumours had it when it come out, Finian's Oscar was a machine. Didn't see it running at Hereford with a busy day, and then since then, obviously, he's gone on to win a Tolworth. Although the form's weak, global stage, unfortunately, hasn't been able to get his act together, and the captain unfortunately pulled up the other day. But you can't doubt his ability. So for me, I'd probably say Neil Wolf at the moment. Again, it's still a week to go. Things can change. I think Stopwatch, the way reading some of his pieces is outstanding. Just, reading into it and you kind of think, I didn't think of that, I didn't think of this. So Mazir Dezobo, for me, looks like to play his claims. I know he fancies that. The form is there after winning the Shadow at Newbury. But I'd probably say my top three would be Neil Wolf to beat Finian's Oscar and Mazir Dezobo back in third.
Right, thank you very much for that. Possibly never least, what does the hunt make of the Neptune?
Interesting race, all told. Leon Wolf, I think he's been very impressive. Obviously at Haydock, he was ridiculously impressive. The one thing I would have with him is that Patrick rode him in his point to point, and normally you would imagine that Willie would sort of pick the ones that he likes, and he would have first go on him, especially if Patrick rode him and he didn't buy him, which maybe that was something to do with the price, maybe it's to do with outside factors. I don't know, but that's an interesting angle. I've got Finian's Oscar for this and the Supreme, so I think he's more likely to go in this, and the Tizzards were very, very sort of effusive about him. They like him a lot. Joe Tizzard has come out and said, he's going to be, he is a star. He's going to be a star. They know he's going to be a star. Bacardi's form, that's up there with some of the best. I'm not sure I agree with Graham that if Let's Dance turns up, Ruby will ride Bacardi's. I think he would go for Let's Dance, but then also, he would know best. So whether or not he goes for one of the two, I don't really know. Let's Dance is absolutely, it's halved and more in price there, which is just it's fascinating, really, what's going on here. We're getting drawn into this nonsense once again, and it's everybody's on it all day. We've got Odds Checker open all day. They're sitting there, they're refreshing Twitter F5 and Twitter every all the time. It's just another day in the circus, isn't it? Really. Mazir Dezobo, obviously Stopwatches. He's put him up as the one for him, and I think if it did turn up soft, I think he would be very, very interesting. The one that's been talked about a lot of the preview evenings is Monolly for Henry de Bromhead, and now obviously he's beat Battleford, who was second by the tightest of margins behind Ballyandy in the bumper last year. Just in case you're wondering, Battleford at 25s in the bumper last year, so I was very happy with that. Yeah, coming second. He seems to be the one.
Where's after time Ansel?
Yeah. Oh no, you can't after time a second. After time in a second. Bloody hell. It's like the ultimate insult to yourself. Never mind anything else.
Gas time for patrolling the streets of Horses for Courses.
I have interest. Is Willoughby Court going to be going here? Did they say?
Yes, they did. That's the plan, but
he's a bit of a
they
character.
Want softer ground. But I think the plan is to run.
Yeah, he's an interesting runner. He's did it easily enough last time out. But for me, I think I agree with Graham. I think I'll stick with Finian's Oscar and hope for the best. But if Neon Wolf does turn up and decides to run, then I think it's going to be difficult to beat. But you've got to take him on with somewhat, haven't you? So why not take him on with Finian's Oscar?
Willoughby Court's form's working out well as well. The second Gabriel came out and won by 30 in length, and he's right in the 150s now.
I was there at Chepstow when Gabriel won, actually. He absolutely scooted away that day as well.
He's a really good horse.
He's going for the Potemps, I think, isn't he? Obviously, he's qualified for that, so I think that's where he's going. And that's going to be enough race.
Indeed. Thank you all for your thoughts on the Neptune. Just to pitch in, for what I think it's worth, I think Neon Wolf probably will go off favourite will be a worthy one. But I think that the Irish Challenge is a very strong one again here, as well as in the Supreme side. And if Let's Dance turned up, listen, I think she'd be a corking each way bet, although I'm pretty sure she was confirmed she'd be a lot shorter. But I wonder what you can get non-runner no bet. I think she's about currently 8-1-ish now, potentially. And the way that she won at Leopardstown, with another year also under her belt, I think is very important. She looks so much stronger now, and I think that she's really going to. And that price is now coming in for a fair amount of support. In fact, actually, 8 is available with really only 3 bookmakers. I'm not sure you guys are much fans of Winner, BetStars, or 32 Red. Although I do
Takeout
like
merchant. Takeout merchants.
Huh? Okay, and but I think she's got to get very close. Bacardi's also, I think, Graham made a good choice for her. So probably I'd say this race might be going over to Ireland for the Biancan seat. Ford's been underrated. I agree. I agree with that. I think Biancan seat has been underrated.
Someone's got a text.
Yeah, apologies for that. That is my pesky computer. My Mac actually takes texts. Yeah. Anyway, we'll move on to the RSA chase. It's the second race. It's a 2:10 next Wednesday, so 2:10 tomorrow in a week. For those of you who are listening, it has been thrown all over the place in terms of all day and the won't they in terms of running. Might Bite is a short price favourite. I would say deservedly so on the basis of his Kempton win. Put that into context for us, stopwatch, and give us the rest of the field too.
So, I mean, that was just about, I would have it down as the best novice chase performance of the season in pure clock terms. Now, we all know it's not all about the clock, but if you were to run the race on that alone, his performance at Kempton on Boxing Day would have been, had he stood up, been a quicker time than Thistlecrack would have clocked had he come across the line. I clocked that as a 165 performance. It's £5 at least better than anything else in this field, and if he were to run up to that, he would win. But in terms of the way he shapes and his style of running, I just can't see him being suited by Cheltenham. And at the kind of prices he is at the moment, I'm happy to leave him alone and let him win if he chooses to do so. The two I'm interested in, both of whom I've got running to marks of about 160, are American, who looks likely to go here. The issue with American is that he's a very fragile horse, takes his racing very, very hard. And he also, according to Harry Fry, needs soft ground. But I think at 10-1, he rates the best non-runner no bet in this race, in that the only way he turns up is if the ground's soft. And if he turns up with the ground being soft, he'll go off 5-6-1. So to me, it's a no-lose bet there. And I think on soft ground, he'd be guaranteed to place at an absolute minimum. As I say, that performance at Warwick was a top-notch performance. And I think that form will be franked in the form of Champers on Ice and the Ultima as well. The other horse I'm interested in, who is looking increasingly likely to go here, is Nicky Henderson's horse, Whisper. Slightly odd, interesting horse. He looked gone at the game for a while the last couple of years, and then came back with a bang this year. He was given a brilliant ride by Davy Russell on New Year's Day when he beat Clan des Obeaux in the Shadows of the Post, giving him £3. I think Clan des Obeaux is the superior horse of those two, but of course he's not running here. But in terms of a clock performance, again, that I clocked that in the high 150s. and the way he's shaped in the race, he's certainly not going to be hindered by the step up to 3 miles either. So I think at 8-1, he's a perfectly fair price as well. So I'd be splitting my stakes on American 10s and Whisper at 8-1.
Wonderful. Humph, you guys, I presume, would have been relatively popular in terms of places for Mike Bite to go. What's the support for him look like now compared to before Coney Island was ruled out?
It's been steady all the way through. To be honest, he's been a favourite for quite a long time. Really, Coney Island sort of came into it a bit, and then obviously, unfortunately, he went by the wayside. I'm not a massive fan of Mike Bite at all. He's a scorpion, I think, isn't he? Isn't he a scorpion?
Yeah.
Absolute nutters, a lot of them. I think Davey Russell said as much the other day as well. Apparently, they're absolute nutters. I do like Whisper, but I'm not overly sure if 3 is what he wants. He was interesting enough over 21. Last 2 times he's won. Davies obviously very shrewd rider. We saw that in the stopwatch said in the Calanders Oboe race. Stalked him all the way around and pounced when it mattered. He would be top. I think he would be top rated in this. If it was a handicap, he'd be top rated. So off levels, he's an interesting one. American, I'd love to go for the 4 miler, but as we found out yesterday from somebody, that dream died a death, and he's going here instead. Acapella Bourgeois is interesting. I'd love to get Starwatch's theory on that last race and sort of how he sort of sees him plumped into this race. It's not a race you can be going mad about, to be honest. There is one at a price that's interesting, which is our camphor for Charlie Longston. He said he's definitely going to go here. Definitely 99.5% that he's going here. And no, he's a 16, 20-1 shot. So if you're looking at a bigger price, you go in there. But I overall, I would gamble with Whisper as well, and hopefully, Davey knows what he's about and knows what it takes to win at Cheltenham. And at 8-1, he is an each way price if you're that way inclined. But yeah, I think you've just got to take my bite on in this race and Whisper at 8s and possibly even our camphor at 20s would be my 2 to take him on with.
All right, thank you very much for that, Hump. And last but never least, Ben.
Yeah, I agree with the lad saying about Whisper as a great opportunity. The only thing for me stands out, I go by trends now and again in the bigger races, and considering he's a 9-year-old novice, it has been great to see his attitude over the last couple of wins at Cheltenham since December. Beat at 2-5 behind Cesar Milan when it was only tried over fences a couple of years back, and that was my reason for not backing him in December. Proved me wrong, and then again thinking Calanders Oboe was a good thing, put in my place. But it's got course form. I think Whisper has got an each way chance. A horse, I just want to see what the views were across the panel for Alpha des Oboe. Second behind Thistlecrack in last year's Stayers Hurdle or World Hurdle. Broke a blood vessel last time out, so you can forgive him for that run. And for me, the RSA is a race which, if you look back since Pauline won it, there's been one favourite, which was Low Poli. But the winner usually has a lot more scope to improve. So you've got Boston's Angel, Weapons Amnesty, O'Phalen's Boy, Black Lion. For me, I just think it might be the race where Mike Bite, yes, it could prove to be a great winner, but I think with what Humphreys said, jump in. You just can't have it in an RSA with what it's going to be. It's going to be like a war of attrition race, jumping the last like it always is. And I just think Giggins Town will hopefully have the winner of this race now for des Oboe, but Whisper will be challenging.
Right, thank you very much. Have a lot of time for in December.
Well,
I've got a lot of time for him. What's his view?
Oh, sorry. So sorry, Graham.
I'm surprised no one has mentioned this horse. but I think he's going to go very close, and I think he's really solid. Royal Vacation, he's improved nearly 2 stone for the application of blinkers. He was going to finish well behind Mike Boy at Kempton, but I thought his last performance was career best, and he has experience around Cheltenham in a large handicap. He's rated only a pound behind Mike Boy now. I just think there's way more improvement to come in this horse, and I think 12 to 1's a great price here in an open looking race.
Right, thank you very much. You can go on further, by the way. That was complete and utter human failure. If you've got more to say, please, let's hear it.
No, sorry. Just Royal Vacation all the way here.
Right, wonderful. Puts down mental note that there are 4 other people on this podcast. I've got plenty of time for what Mike Boy did at Kempton, but less time perhaps for some of his Cheltenham efforts as well. And also the fact I think that possibly, I'm not saying he doesn't handle tracks sort of that go up and down that are undulating, but less time perhaps for his form away from Kempton, I'm just saying. Anthony Bow has really solid form claims based on his Fairy House run and also his festival effort last year, but me, and quite a big one I can't get away from. I actually like Acapella Bourgeois as a horse like quite a lot, but that fast of a race makes it a bit difficult for me now to evaluate him at about 8s. You do have to end up giving Whisper a big chance here. I think he's been a bit rejuvenated since he was well beaten in the World Hurdle last year.
Is that form up to anything last time out?
Possibly not, but
I thought he was lucky to win it. Clandy's Oboe made a mistake the second last, and it kind of cost him the race.
I think it cost Clandy's Oboe a bit. Don't think it cost him the race. I think he had it all there to win. I wouldn't take it the new course.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure the mistake the last is at the new course, given how long you've got to recover up to the line. Although it's a point worth making. But I just think he looks an awful lot better over fence, and I think him and Acapella Bourgeois might be just 2 rock solid each way plays potentially. The only thing with Acapella Bourgeois is that race was an absolute disgrace last time around. It's kind of off-putting. You'd like to see him having a proper test, but every other piece of form he has is working out quite well. Anyway, any more thoughts on the RSA before we go to the World Cup?
Out of interest, with what Ben was saying about Alpha Days, well, just in the big races, it's just a case. I always think of a "what have you done for me lately" kind of thing with him, and it's not really worked out for him recently. And if to lose that winning feeling and have to try and get it back at Cheltenham, I think that's going to be a bit difficult. That's all. That was only my view, sort of, on Alpha Days Oboe.
To be honest, I do agree.
Yeah.
I just think with the RSA, it's thrown up the last couple of years. That's probably the best horse doesn't win, and just seeing a bit of value. But I totally agree there. The form's a bit patchy. Fair comment. Just hope so they can get that together come next Wednesday. But I think with Whisper as well, I think it'll either be a lackluster run or he's going to be bang there. I don't think he'll be getting placed and featuring coming around the corner. It's going to be positioning there, and he's going to get the job done hopefully. But does anyone think the 9-year-old trend can affect anything?
The horse doesn't know how old he is.
Okay, yeah.
It's Marmite tonight, this thing, isn't it? Bloody hell, you got two of us on the bandwagon. Woody's rowing upstream.
Just one thing with the trend. Honestly, for races, I think they used to work better also previously in the past. I think they used to be better for the past and for handicaps, but races now are becoming quite different, especially because of the advancements in training, the pooling of talent in certain places as well. I think trends sometimes are becoming less effective in some races than others. We got the Coral Cup coming up, and it's a good example. because but handicaps now are becoming sort of compressed. See with the Grand National, with the compression of the weights now, and it's become a completely different thing. Just to go off on a tangent.
Moving onwards.
Yeah, moving onwards. Yeah, I'm getting very little feedback to that. Anyway, the Coral Cup. Yes, this old doozy of a race. 26 horses usually. I think it's 24 actually is the security limit, sorry. 24 horses, and you've got to pick one in the first, well, usually tend to be first 6 on the day. Throw this up to Ben, just to start us off with it, if he's got anything in mind for the race.
Looking at the Gold Cup, I would say, depending if they do go there, I don't know what the plans are with Tombstone and Storyteller for Gordon Elliott. With Storyteller, rated 142 off 10.8, beat Battleford by 9 lengths, and the form links in with Monolith as well, which was well pointed out by Humphries in the opener in the Neptune. So I'd be looking at either of those two to take the crown. I'm not usually one for trends or facts or whatnot, but one thing I would like, would the onus to win would be Dad's in Trouble, Tim Vaughan. He's never had a winner at Cheltenham, so it's over 0-125 in the last 5 years and has had previous winners. Ski Sunday getting the closest from one of the bigger races. But for me, I think Tombstone and Storyteller would be to take on the field. Air Horse One hasn't done anything wrong. Its attitude, last 3 runs, you can't doubt that. It's win last time at Ascot, beating Divine Spear as well. But I think Gordon Elliott will take the prize here.
Just to hit back on that, the Storyteller will go for the Martin Pipe, will he not?
And fingers crossed Tombstone goes for the county as well.
This is the race for Tombstone.
Rain all over your parade. And
Tombstone should be running in this race.
I'm pretty sure Storyteller goes for the Martin Pipe. Can anybody confirm that? Or
he's been heavily backed for that, yeah. So that seems to be the way.
He's gonna run.
They can't decide with Tombstone at the minute. Obviously, that's probably going to be a 5-dayer for Gordon and the Ryanair boys.
I'll go to you, Graham, actually, because there is a fairly big Irish challenge for this, and I've got my eye on one in particular. I'm wondering if you'll mention him.
Yeah, I think I will. I think I know the one you're on about. But I think he runs in the same colours as the one I fancy. Consul de Taille, I think, is going to win this. He's been crying out for this trip in his 2 runs this season. He's bumped into a horse that's 6-1 to win a champion hurdle. He could be very, very well treated. I think that he might be. He'd be left in probably at the 5-day stage for the Supreme as well. He'd be a player there, but I think he's well treated here. I think the trip will help. And he's at rate 140. I'd say personally, I think he's at 155 minimum horse. This is the trip. The track should suit. He's a lot going from. And the other horse, I think you might be interested in, might be wrong. It's Bleu et Rouge. It's the same comments. He's very well treated on the pick of his hurdle form. He's a Grade 1 winner. Bet the favourite last year in the Delight Tombstone. It's went pear-shaped over fence. He just can't jump, really. And I'd say he'll turn up here. I think those two would have big chances. Was I right, TJ, with the Bleu et Rouge, no?
He's on the short list, but he wasn't the one I really like. Yeah. Gets in wins. If I would hope he'd get in. Anyway, we'll get about that later.
Never doubted you. That's the one I like as well.
Sorry? Okie doke. You can make that case then.
Oh, you come to me a bit quick there, haven't you? Jeez, give me.
The pace. Trying to atone for any mistakes. I'm chasing, mate. I'm chasing.
I tell you, we can't. Well, some of us don't have football to watch. Will some of our teams aren't in Europe? You see.
That is.
Yeah. Well, if you just look at the form, basically, he's beaten Holstone. Third behind Willoughby Court, who could go obviously close in the Neptune we spoke about earlier. 3 wins. What was it? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4 wins on the bounce in a row. So, Pete Fry, he's definitely going to get in. 7-year-old. I just think it's off 140. I just think he's a great bet, to be honest. I think you can easily get around sort of 12 to 1 for him. I just think that the Cheltenham form's there as well, the all-important Cheltenham form, and that's going ahead of Holstone, which is considerable form, and they were carrying the same weight that day. I think he's just a really, really nice bet for a festival. That's what it is. There's a couple. Obviously, So I think I was watching an alternative preview now the other day, and they said stop. They were talking about plot horses and things like that, and they were saying if you just look for horses with form, just look at the bare form. Don't worry about any of the plot horses. What is supposed to be a plot horse, yada yada yada. Just go for the bare form, and this thing's got the bare form. I think he's going to go. To be honest, I hope he wins. But if he places, you're going to get. When you run at a quarter of the odds, you've got 3 to 1 a place, which isn't a bad way to be halfway through your Wednesday afternoon.
Right, really lovely stuff there. And last but not least, have you got any clock watch ratings for this stopwatch? Or
I've not actually done any ratings spreadsheets for handicap, purely because it's much of a pain in the arse when you've got hundreds of entrants. Although ironically enough, I've actually had my biggest anti-post bet of this festival in this race. I backed Modus at 25s immediately after the Lanzarote. In terms of the overall profile of this race, it's clearly you've got multiple runners, 25, 30, however many it is runners, and the pace is always very strong. And you're basically needing a horse who can travel very comfortably, jump well, and take you forward, take you through the gaps, keep you going forward the whole way round. And I think Modus is the perfect horse for that. The 2 issues you have with him: one, he's clearly not well treated off 155. That's not the kind of mark that you would expect a Coral Cup winner to be winning off. But he, in terms of his raw time performances, his second behind Northill Harvey at Cheltenham back in November, and his Coral Cup win, I have down his performances that aren't a million miles off champion hurdle kind of level. The other slight issue with him as well is you'd imagine there'll be stronger stayers over this trip. I'd be absolutely certain that coming toward the last or the last 2, he'll be travelling like the winner. He'll look the winner. It's just whether something picks him off up the run, and I think that's entirely possible, maybe even likely. But I would be very surprised if he didn't place even off a mark of 155. And I got 25s. I think you can get 14s on Betfair. You can probably get 10 to 1 non-runner, no bet. I wouldn't put you off each way at that kind of price either. I think he's an absolute cert to place at least.
okay, can I get panel thoughts on Super Sunday if he goes here?
Yeah, he'd have a fair chance. I haven't seen what his mark's like, but he's a class act on his day.
Or anyone else to Super Sunday? I just thought it'd be interesting, and he's definitely going to get in. I think he's likely to run.
Ground big issue with him.
Super Sunday's off 148, so he's definitely going to get it.
High enough, anyway.
For a horse that doesn't really win, yeah.
Control the tie like getting a stone. Yeah.
One of the dreams for me was Old Guard. I was a bit intrigued by Old Guard.
Do we think he wants this trip around Cheltenham?
Paul Nichols mentioned him the other day. That was all. I thought it was a bit interesting that he would talk about him. That was all.
I think Paul Nichols thinks he has him nicely. It's as nicely treated as he can get him, maybe in better form than possibly over fences, which he hated jumping. He seemed to hate jumping fences. Badly. 151 is stiff though. Modus is only rated, I think, £4 the better. And you take Modus, I think, from those two. That's just my 2 cents.
So probably claim off Modus as well. Imagine.
Cobden?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair point. With no Barry Geraghty around now, I think their instinct will definitely be to have one of these. Somebody, maybe even like your Harry Reid of this world, might even get the nod on that one, taking off £5-7.
Yeah.
KJ certainly may be a Super Sunday fan. Yeah, looking back, as you said, it is struggling to win at the moment, but behind Sutton Place recently, 7th behind Old Tour in last year's Supreme. Yeah, very interesting action. It's 20-1 horse as well.
Right, lovely stuff. We'll move on to the Queen of the Champion chase. Some years it can be a fantastic betting race. This year, it would appear, and I'm saying that because nothing is a certainty in racing, but it would appear that one horse towers over the opposition. Running around of voices before we discuss the race further. Can Duvan be beaten if he stands up? Andrew Humphrey? Yes or no?
Absolutely not.
Graham Woods.
I'm not even interested what comes second, by the way. Anything could come second. I don't mind. I'm just going to be a pleasure to watch Duvan again.
I agree with that. I think it's a very good betting heat for what comes second. Graham Woods, yes or no, can Duvan be beaten if he stands up?
Sure will. Anything can happen in racing. He can be beat if he stays up. You know, nothing's a certainty unless he's Frankel.
True. I like what you did there. Not show any sign of Duvan being beaten if all goes to plan.
No, I don't think so. I mean, his performance at Aintree last season was the best chase clock performance I've ever seen. It was an unbelievable performance. In fact, and this is my angle into the race. Well, such a good performance. Game Changer, who came second that day, and he went second. I rated as the second best novice chaser of the entire season. Such was that clock performance that day. Your only slight concern is he's not done anything like that this season. I did notice earlier in the year that Willie Mullins had come out and said that he hadn't been sparkling the same way in his work, and was he the same animal as last year? But to be honest, even if he's not, he's not going to have to be to beat this lot. I think the Game Changer, assuming that the ground turns out good ground, has an interesting without favourite chance. I think it's also an interesting bet, even in the outright market at 100-1. I wouldn't put you off taking that. But I think more realistically, the horse who's most likely to come second is probably God's Own of Tom George's. He never runs a bad race, particularly if the ground comes out good. I think he'll be a clear second. And yeah, but to be honest, I think it's a spectacle. It's a race to watch and enjoy. But if you're that keen on having a bet, then a few quid on the Game Changer at 3-figure odds, or a small bet on God's Own without the favourite would be your angle, and I would say.
Wonderful overview. Ben Homans, coming to you last, but of course never least. Give your full overview of this race. But first of all, do you think Duvan will be beaten if all goes to plan or stands up, whatever?
I think all should go to plan. For me, Duvon's a certainty. I know the price isn't there. Looking, if you're going to look at a place, Stopwatch has pointed out Godzone. He's got that zip. He's he's got the course form. He's placed in the Tingle Creek. You can't doubt the price there. Where with Fox Norton has improved since the Potts have had it. I think with Duvon, yes, we can look back and say if he's hasn't had the same zip at home that he had. Vittor was 80 or 90% fit last year, and look what he did. Sadly, they're no longer with us. But for me, Duvon wins, convincingly. But Godzone, I think, is an each way bet, which I think I'll probably be playing with come next Wednesday.
Okay. I didn't really get a chance to give everybody say sort of on the potential runners-up. We've heard from Ben and Stopwatch Racing. Graham, are there any horses you think might be good each way bets, overpriced here? How many do you think are lurking in sort of the betting?
Yeah, I haven't seen what odds he is, and he might be on for the Grand Annual, but Sir de Grugy, if he turned up here in the without market.
I can tell you 25's best.
Sorry?
25's best.
And Gary Moore said he's not going, by the way.
All right.
Came out and said that he's not been pleasing Jamie at home since that fall, and they're going to, in all likelihood, give him a summer break and bring him back in the autumn.
Yeah, fair enough. It'd be hard to look past Fox Norton for a second. Listen, I have a lot. I do have a soft spot for Lamy Serge. He has plenty of talent. He could nick a place, but Fox Norton would be more reliable there for the runner-up spot.
Okay. Have I heard from you, Humphrey, who might be just Steve comparative to others in champion days?
Yeah, I just said I didn't care what came second or third. I actually bet the Game Changer to finish second in the Arkle last year. That went well for about 3/4 of the way, and then he fell out the back. Then he fell out the back of the TV.
He lost his active. He was hampered, or there was something that happened when Vanuatu came down.
Yeah, it was Vanuatu's fault, yeah.
Yeah, I was, but I still expected him to sort of have a bit of momentum going up. But I think that must have just killed anything, whatever was in there. If you really, really want to push me, well, I'll just say Sir Valentino for absolutely no reason.
Right. Thank you very much for that. Hopefully, we do get to see Duvant strut his stuff, as Graham rightly reminds us. Nothing is a certainty in racing, and so nothing is a certainty. The better metaphor for that than the Glenfarne Chase. It's been changed to a conditions event. Only handicapping. It's going to be around those delightfully tricky fences. I'll start with you, Graham. I want to know your thoughts.
Yeah, Canlow is a fair price, I think, at 9-4. Now that it's off level weights, but I notice there's plenty of money coming for causes. You couldn't back him on what you see in first time out, but he's went to Cheltenham and had 2 schools around the cross country course, which would be, hugely beneficial for the horse. But possibly another JP McMahon owned horse is probably the bet here. Auvergne, is that? I think is how you pronounce it. I think he's rock solid.
Yeah.
I think he's rock solid. You can get 8 with Boyle Sports. William Hill, cracking each way bet. I think he should be in the first 3. McManus 1, 2, 3. You'd have to manage.
Okay. Ben, do you have any thoughts on the cross country? You seen any of the races this year?
I've got to agree with Graham, to be honest. looking back at the Punchestown running last time, when Overgnat beat Useful Smurf, who's well regarded. Ballybroker Bridge was back in third. Ballybroker Bridge is a great form stick over the cross country, whether it's over in Ireland or over here. You got to expect with the each way price there 8-1. Course of course has been backed as well. There's going to be, we know how he runs around Cheltenham usually, obviously different scenes last time. I'd be trying to take Cantlow on just for the value side, but I think Orvignat would be my each way choice at the moment. Looking at the field, the one I didn't really know much about last time, and I don't think a lot of people did, was the French raider Urgent de Gregain. Anyone know how it's been working, or if it's still going to be going next week?
He goes. I'm pretty sure that is the plan.
Okay. That it was a bit of an unknown last time. Might be one to keep an eye on, but 8-1. Considering a lot of these have got a lot more scope to improve, but Orvignat each way, I'd say.
Right, thank you very much. So we've had Woodsy and we've had Ben Homans. Now I'll go for stopwatch actually. See if anything's caught his eye.
No, I've no interest in this at all. Couldn't care less who wins. A good spectacle in terms of viewership. I'm glad they keep it in the programme, but in terms of a betting heat, I just couldn't give a toss.
Okay, thank you very
Tell us
much.
how you really feel.
Sorry.
Tell us how you really feel.
Oh, he needs some training with that. Yeah, so you have to be a bit more honest with us. Yeah, how do you tell us how you really feel?
The only reason Cause of Courses has got backed is because he's going to have Jamie Codd on his back. Overnight it was unlucky actually when on trials day when they were on the rearranged race when Rachel Blackmore got unshipped, which was unfortunate. But I'm not sure whether he was running much of a race before that. I can't remember too well. I've got Cantlow at a decent price. I've got 2 dockets on Cantlow at a decent price, so obviously I'm going to be cheering him on. And I think now it's off levels, it could make it very interesting. I think that would rule the French horse Jean de Gregain out. I think they got away with it last time, carrying a very little weight. I know that Vézelay, the horse he travelled with, isn't going to come over this time for any race whatsoever. So whether they actually bring him just as a travelling companion for that horse, I've got no idea. Apparently he did need one, which is a bit strange, but never mind. Can't have any currency. Way too old now. Yeah, Cantlow for me, I think. But I do think it'll be a JP 1-2 and Cantlow and Overnight. If you want to put him in a reverse forecast, that's probably going to be the way forward, in my opinion.
Right, thank you very much. Lovely to hear your thoughts on the.
Any prizes? Just interrupt slightly. Any prizes for when the last time Enda Bolger won this race was?
Yeah, if it wasn't for last year, I'd say Gard Champetre, 2009.
Yeah, going back to 2009, which is crazy when you think about the setup he's got.
Tell you what, Ben Homans. What about that? Where have you pulled that from?
That was my early days of getting into racing. I used to back heads on
Absolutely
the ground,
incredible.
spot the difference.
Absolutely incredible. That the Fred Winter Juvenile Hurdle is named after an absolutely incredible racing figure and legend. Absolutely incredible puzzle to solve in terms of who is going to come. I'll give this first up actually to Ben again, and I'll see where we can go from there. So, most likely, and Divine Bear is the 6-1 favourite.
You've just picked my brains as well, Kijo. Divine Bear, for me, one of 2 selections I'll be looking at. Beat a top horse last time with Master Blue Eyes, who's gone on to beat Charlie Parks, although, as we said, we don't know if that was the real Charlie Parks we were seeing in the Adonis. just looking at Divine Bear as well, the form in France isn't great. Zapata, who's been beat convincingly a couple of times since, but the attitude of way he got it done. I know they jumped the last and they did clash. Its attitude and the Fred Winter, that's what you want. You want a horse to obviously, get the job done. Diego Duchamil last year, prime example of, lightly raced, running over in France and then coming over here with a bit of value. I know Dallas was highly rated at the start of the season when winning at Chepstow. For me, I think Nichols, I can't see anything that jumps out, including like dream catching as well and beating Molyneux at Wincanton last time. So I don't expect Nichols to be taking the prize here. You can shoot me down next week if that happens, but I can't see it. Denario Disobo, lads, does he go into Fred Winter?
Wouldn't be 100% sure. It's up. Giggins sound prefer to have horse in grade ones, but I don't know. I guess it'll be a close call near the day. Like
the way they've got a mark for her is interesting though, considering if they were, they ran her again when they didn't really need to run her. I think so. She's got all entries for everything. Supreme, Fred Winter, Mers Novices, JCB. But I agree with Graham. They do obviously prefer the grade ones, but
there's nothing for the triumph, I don't think.
Okay, I appreciate that. I think with the attitude again, didn't jump very stylishly last twice anyway. Dead heated with expatriate last time out. So I think Divine Bear is a decent bet. I know the price has gone, but that attitude straight away. And then if the Cornelius charges go as well, it's 12-1 best odds at the moment. I don't know if that's shifted. That was from last night, but yeah, I'd say Divine Bear and Denario Dizobo and the Fred Winter.
Thank you very much. Denario went here. I presume you'd be interested.
Oh yeah, she'd be the one to be. I'd say she's a grade one horse. Just needs probably over a trip. I think if she ran the trying forward, she'd be competitive. Like I think she'd be there or thereabouts. Ground would be you'd want soft ground. Jumping's a little bit iffy, but I think she's well treated here, and yeah, she should be there or thereabouts. The track should suit her as well. More emphasis on stamina. And that also applies for Project Blue Book, who I thought ran a lovely race last time for a race like this. He just wants a stiffer test at 2 mile. It was a fine run, and I think the winner is going for the Triumph Hurdle. He's one to remain interested in Project Blue Book, and I think I'd probably just lean with him, to be honest. The way he shaped last time.
Okay, I've lost you there, Graham, or are you still there?
Oh no, I'm still here. I'm just done.
All right, lovely. Sorry, that was a delay on my end. Thank you very much for that. So, Humph, handicap expert extraordinaire, as Harold would call you. What makes you look at Fred Winter?
Every time the handicap comes up, I'm just sat there going, please don't come to me first. Please don't come to me first. Please don't come to me first.
What's protecting you? You're getting plenty of cover in a big field.
The one that I quite like in this is Don Perignon de Lees for Nicky Henderson. I quite like it. 2 wins under the belt already, and then he behind Defi Dessau, which everything else has been so far this season. I don't think that's form to be shaken at. Other than that, really, Project Blue Book, obviously, like Graham said, the run behind Fourth Bridge at Musselburgh. It's had 3 runs at Musselburgh in a row now, which is a bit odd. You thought they'd have travelled it a bit interesting to see what it would sort of go left-handed rather than right-handed, but never mind. I suppose some people are different. John Quinn will do it his own way. Denario Desobo will be the one to win if she turned up here, but whether she will or not, you can't be relying on Eddie and Michael, unfortunately. Dream Captain's been popular. Divon Bear's popular. It's one of these races where you're taking a real gamble before you can even think about what's getting in. But I think the form, looking at the form, I quite like Dom Perignon de Lee. 2 wins in the 4th behind Defi de Searle. Not form to be shaken out. So yeah, I'll stick with Nicky, and it's could be another win for those famous green colours.
Good. Thank you very much for that. Stopwatch. What's on the clock for the Fred Winter? I mean that as a kind of teasy thing. I'm sure you don't have actual ratings. It would be a lovely surprise if you did.
I've got a few. I've not done the race in any detail. Again, not very original. Denario Zobo stands out to me, assuming that she turns up. I think she will turn up. I think the temptation of a mark of 139 will be too much for them. And on the basis of all 3 of her last runs, I think she'd be at least half a stone well in here. I think her penultimate start, particularly where she was 3rd behind Mega Fortune, is tremendously good form when you take nicence of the mistake she made. I think it was 2 or 3 out, where it was a really shuddering mistake. And for her to pick back up and keep fighting on was a testament to the kind of mare that she is. The issue with her, she travels fine at pace, and she battles, and she's very tough in a finish, but she has no discernible turn of foot, no change of gear at all. And she's one paced ultimately. She's a bit of a plodder, and I think in time she'll be a mare's hurdle or a world hurdle horse. But the kind of pace they go at the festival, you're not looking for horses who necessarily have a brilliant turn of foot as much as horses who can travel and who battle at the end. And I think off 139, I think her chances are fairly obvious. And I would hope that the mark is too tempting for them to ignore. And I think if all these things happen, I think she'll go off a pretty short price favourite on the day.
Right, thank you very much. Am I good to move on to the champion bumper?
What do you think for that race, KJ?
I think that it might actually be one of the better trends races, given that we've seen actually a clear pattern of horses emerging. So, best with the way Divin Bear won, but I keep hearing he's going to go for the Triumph. I actually keep hearing this, and apparently I've read it I think a couple of times in the Sporting Life, and he's now 60, so you back him on the day. I think Denaria would take a good deal of beating, but she's likely to have a big weight to come out. I agree with Project Bluebird. I think one that could be really interesting could be Coeur de Lion, who just got there at Sandown on really heavy ground last time. The time before, he tried to give a good amount of weight to Don Bercy, who went on to win the Victor Lodorum at Haydock at Sandown. He was 1-3 that day, but I couldn't begrudge him getting beaten given what Don Bercy's done since. Then he was a length and a quarter behind Defi de Searle, and he beat Forth Bridge on his debut. He goes really well on good ground, and he goes for his flat days, and I think he actually needs respect. I think he's interesting. I'm sure Master Wheels will go to the Triumph, so he'll be the connection's first choice.
Strange at the prices that the Dom Perignon de Lee that I like is almost half the price of the Coeur de Lion that was well ahead of him behind Effie at Cheltenham. I thought that was a bit interesting. Is he definitely going to go?
Dom Perignon de Lee, is he definitely going to go there?
No, Coeur de Lion, is he definitely going to be in this race, or is he going to go? Because he has got a Triumph entry as well, as far as I can see.
He has, but I would be surprised if they didn't split their kind of relative power. I'd be very surprised. So I would really wager it's likelier that he goes here to the Fred Winter, meaning here, than the Triumph. I think they've got one stab at the Triumph, and they must be very confident with that stab. Anyway, the last race on day 2 can be one of the most exciting, I will say. The champion bumper. a veritable tinderbox of hype and rumour and promise. And also a grade 1 too, we shouldn't forget. Anyway, we all know the story. Race bombarded with the British Challenge, hopefully ready to hold him off. Carter Mackay has been a talking horse for a long time and is now 3-1 as short as 5-2. Deservedly so, following his defeat of West Coast time at, I believe it was Nace latest. Graham Wood, what do you make of that form, and how do you see the Irish packing order?
Yeah, best performance so far in bumpers in Ireland. But for me, he's too short now for a race like this, and you don't know whether Paddy Mullins is going to be riding. It could be Sheikh Fahad. You just don't know.
Go on the Sheikh. Go on the Sheikh.
We love our friends from the Middle East. We love our friends from the Middle East.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd love him to ride this. I would love him to ride this.
I think it's. I don't think it's pie in the sky. Like I think it could happen. Yeah, he's too short for me at this stage to back. The one I like is a horse called the Boucher, trained by Margaret Mullen. Very impressed with him at Leopardstown. Visually, it looked. I'd say he done a good time that day. On it was Irish Champion Hurdle Day. Very impressive at turn of four. Put the race to bed in a few strides. He's very interesting here, and for me, he's the one I like. I don't know too much about the English horses like Western Rider and Cause Toujours. I think the Boucher is a better horse than Someday as well. It's trained by Jessica Harrington. I would be like Ballywood would be the one for me here, but he's not going to run really. So the Boucher for me here.
Right, thank you very much for that. You may challenge and then your view on the race.
Say that again, KJ. Cut out. Sorry.
No worries. What do you think of the British Bumper Challenge for this year, and then give us a general overview of the race, if you could.
One of the selections was Daphne de Close, but I believe come out today, so draw a line through that. With Western Rider for Graham, was held behind Daphne de Close at Newbury. We all know that Greatwick's, is knowledgeable with his bumper horses, beat Imperial Eloquence of Fergal O'Brien's as well, which was back in December, which will take their opportunity as well. So with the Imperial racing, so I just think with looking at Carter Mackay's performances, there is another Irish runner which I'm quite fond of, which I'll come to in a second. But Carter Mackay, I know it's been on the drift today, out to 5-1. I know Mick's very sweet on Carter Mackay. Backmatch, when it beat on its rules debut, has won since. Backmatch could be going for the champion bumper as well. You just can't doubt how it's got it done. I think some days quite interesting. Wouldn't be my likely winner of the race, but second behind Silas Emery in Punchestown last year. The Punchestown bumpers are very strong. If you look through recent years, I've been 5 years on the trot, and some of the horses that have come out, but you just can't doubt the form lines there. Then beat another Mullins horse in Voixtus Tiep. They were 14 lengths clear of the third. 10-1. If it does go, I think we'll have a good chance. Probably not to win. I think Carter Mackay, for me, will take the bumper. But again, it's a bit of a minefield, and hopefully the British charge can take the crown.
All right, lovely stuff. That's brilliantly said. Andrew, what do you make of the bumper? Is it a race that's managed to tickle your interests anymore?
It's just nuts, isn't it, really, at the end of the day? It's just an absolute minefield. Obviously Carter Mackay was very impressive when Patrick had the cigar out last time. I don't think it was run the way that West Coast Town would have wanted to be run, so I won't be overly shocked if he was a lot closer this time. Whether he can go past him, I'm not overly sure. To be honest, I did quite well. I was looking through this race quite quite fondly. And then I got to the bottom and I saw that Mark Johnston had a runner in here, and I suddenly got distracted by 2-year-olds that were in his yard. I was disappointed to see Daphne de Clos come out, as Ben had said. Is Ballyward's come out as well, hasn't it, today? Pretty sure.
I think so, yeah.
I think so.
I heard it say at the festival, yeah.
Oh, well, there's another one bites the dust. Irish Row might be one. I haven't got the prices with me at the minute. But yeah, I'm struggling. I'm really struggling. This has been known to throw up some absolute ridiculous price winners, and I think it could quite easily do the same again. I'll be interested to see. Wouldn't it be great to see Sheikh Farhad ride the horse he owns, and also the guy that owns Red Hot Philly Peppers ride his horse as well, and Patrick Mullins is left.
David Johansson
with his hands.
I think could you imagine if those two falls out into the champion bumper?
What price would he go off if Sheikh Fahad was on him?
5
to 1.
You think he'd go off that short in that kind of race?
Even when he can't be beaten, Sheikh will not be beaten.
Make all. Just go out and make all. Like he did on Lebec. Point and shoot.
It's a great price for the Supreme, by the way. If he fancies it, he's a great price for the Supreme. I noticed that today, 50 to 1.
Yeah.
That's what
Sheikh bad.
Jamie Codd was saying that about Lebec last night, about how he's never seen a horse who works as well at home as that horse, and that he's just a nutter. But if he were to turn up on a going day, he would have a big chance at 50 to 1, I think.
Also, just with Someday, I assume because it's trained by Jesse that Kate will get the ride as well. That's another interesting angle into this. So you could have Kate Harrington riding for her mum, Sheikh Farhad riding for himself, and Red Hot Philly Peppers being ridden by his owner as well. What a time to be alive! only in the Cheltenham bumper could you see something like this. It's almost as crazy as the Magnolia Cup at Goodwood. You ever watched that?
Yeah, I do.
You've got to watch the Magnolia Cup. That's brilliant. It's a shame that obviously blow by blow, Daphne de Clos and Ballyward aren't going to go, but really it's just making it just, Part McKay could win by half the track. Well, he could not turn up, then just turn up on the day and just roll your pen down your paper, and wherever it lands, that's who to go with.
Indeed. Last but not least, Mr. Stopwatch. Is Carter Bouquet quick enough to overcome his friend from the Middle East?
I have no idea. I don't tend to do this race from a time perspective at all, until maybe the night before, if I'm feeling particularly generous. One I will give you that's not a time horse at all. It's just a gut shot horse. I've been very impressed with Robbie McNamara and his training operation over in Ireland. And Quick Grab Him is currently available, I think, about 25 on Betfair. He, on his debut, ran a Gigginstown horse called Monbeg Worldwide, very, very close. Bolted up next time out at Leopardstown, and then came over to Exeter about a month or so ago, where he was a shade of odds on, I think. Noel Feely rode him that day, and he tanked through the race. In fact, he was probably too keen through the race. Approaching 3 out, he looked like he was going to win by 20 lengths, and then he just found absolutely nothing and hung all over the track. The thing that perked my ears up slightly last night when I was watching the final furlongs Cheltenham Preview was that Noel Feely had called Robbie McNamara up and said to him, "Luke, run this thing anyway." That's how impressed he was by it. So I just have a funny feeling that this horse is a lot better than he's shown, and for Noel Feely to actually be actively pursuing the ride on him would make me think that he's better than the bare form of the result at Exeter last time. So I would say at 25 to 1, he's an interesting gut shot bet.
Thanks very much for that.
Who's going to win, Sheikh William?
Start again?
Who's going to win this one then? Sheikh William.
Ooh, if Sheikh William could ride any of them, he'd be very tempted to take the Mountain Casper Kai. But if you're talking from a betting point of view, I think that you would be difficult. You'd be hard pressed to throw Western Rider out the front three. I just think that form is rock solid. I know it's really boring, but it is. On that note as well, I do like what Sunday did. I think very solid professional, and that Chilios Emery form in the bumper is working out well. I like Kate Harrington as well, an awful lot. Have you any other thoughts? Anything I might have missed for the Wednesday at the Cheltenham Festival?
I can't think of anything. Also, just out of interest, just to let you know, David Pipe's got one in there called Delhi Rant JP McManus, a recent purchase from France. So tread with caution there, maybe.
Who's taking enemy fire? Yeah, who's your at right now? A lot of hopping back.
Oh,
Sounds painful, whatever Ben's got.
What was that?
Ben, I know you were covering one saw for us.
Is that again?
Very kind of you. Anyway, continue with your thought, Humphrey.
No, just saying that David Pipe's got one, in there for JP McManus, a recent purchase from France. I think it was for about 140,000 euros. So tread with caution there, maybe, because he, it's a bit of a shrewd operation, David Pipe and JP McManus together.
Indeed, absolutely. Right, that brings us to an end for our preview of the second day's racing at the Cheltenham Festival. It's literally, I think, a week tomorrow. In fact, actually less than that if you're being a time anorak, as I'm sure Stopwatch would know. Thanks, everybody, for their time. I appreciate we had some technical issues tonight, but I really would like to thank our wonderful guests. Thank you very much, Graham Woods.
Thanks, KJ. Been a pleasure.
It's never a chore for me either. Thank you very much. Andrew Humphrey of Blackfred.
Very welcome. Also, just in case, because I knew you'd forget, Harold Martin's charity bet, William. Come on now. For the charity.
Oh, yes, I'm so sorry. Oh, my God. The thing about I know he's listening and he is raging. And that man is a fighting machine. So
14-3, 14-3, 14-3. The victorious.
The Under Armour sponsored victorious.
I'm going to get beaten up by the victorious.
The wine drinking
yes,
victorious.
actually, I'm going to ask the wine drinking victorious. Oh, he's just going to glass me instead. It would be worse. Much rather he finish me quickly. Anyway, I'll start with you, Humphrey. So you remembered it. One selection for the Lucky 15 from the Wednesday.
I will go in RS. Oh, no, actually, I'll take Peregrine Run in the Coral Cup. 12-1.
Bastard. Graham.
Royal Vacation, Royal Sun Alliance Chase.
Full Sunday title there.
Royal Sun. Yes, he gets extra points for that. Extra points for that. Sing. Hello. Is the clock ticking? It's stopwatch.
Oh, sorry. You must have cut out slightly there. Mazir Dezobo in the Neptune.
Lovely.
Ah, nice. And last but not least, Ben Homans.
Divine Bear goes for the Fred Winter.
Wonderful. And to put one in for these as well, or
Duvan. It was room for my glass, not TJ.
Oh my God! Right,
for God's sake, man.
You get Western Rider in the champion.
Oh, well, that's dead then. The Sheikh will not appreciate your betrayal of him.
The Sheikh can go and find value elsewhere. Thanks very much. everybody. Oh, I'm sure he's got big things. The Middle East is a turbulent place. Thanks so much, everybody.
Chat on here.
I hope that you are able to join us tomorrow night. We'll be looking at the third day. Join us then.
Good night.
Oh, and you might have Charlie Austin. It's there. Bet you want to stick around now. SoundCloud has finished recording, so
Thanks very much for the opportunity as well, Keej.
No worries. Oh fuck! There's a
Keej, you gotta turn us offline.
We're still live.
Yeah, I am. But I know. Giant spider.
Sounds like you're trying to turn it off from a different room.
Hold on 1 second. Let's turn us off now. Thank you for doing
Bring back Harold.